Okay, so today we're going to put some LED lighting underneath the awning so that we can have light at night when we're outside underneath the awning. What we're going to use for our power source is this outside light right here. Now this is unfortunate where it's at because the lighting is going to run the entire length of the awning. Then I've got to come back and then down into this. So I've got a little channel that I'm going to use, but the factory wiring I'm going to have to add on to that, so that's not as much fun as I'd like it to be. Okay, so the under awning LED lighting that we got is from Recpro, and we'll put the link below. One of the things I like about Recpro versus the other ones is they actually give you these channels that will mount up underneath. They've got an adhesive backing and they hold really well. We did this on our last camper and these did a great job. They never came out once, so we're going to use this to put them up with. Before I even started this project, I unrolled the lights inside the house and I measured it from tip to tip to see exactly what the length was. Then I came outside and I measured how that would fall underneath the awning. What I'm going to do based on my measurements is start 2 inches actually outside of where the awning is, so that it'll end up in the right spot down at the other end, which will be approximately 2 inches on the other side as well. So what I'm going to do with the channels is I'm actually going to measure in 2 inches and put a mark, so when I put these channels up I will know where to space it appropriately. And to do that I'm just going to use a Sharpie and put a little mark on there. The first step before we stick these on with the adhesive is we need to take some acetone and put it on a white substantial paper towel. If you use a colored cloth, acetone will take the color out and it'll put a smear on the camper. Well, basically what I'm going to do is get the tip of this wet with just my finger, and then I'm going to go up to just the area where I'm going to put the channel, and I'm going to run my finger down with the acetone. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to start a little bit beyond where I think I'm going to start at, and I'm going to work that back and I'm going to take it across, and what that's doing is it's cleaning it and it's creating the surface so we can go ahead and stick these on. I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of the prepping on this, and then I'll show you how we stick the channels on in a minute. So okay, I'm getting ready to remove the backing of the adhesive on these. This is a 3M adhesive, and let me tell you what, this stuff sticks to whatever you stick it on and it doesn't come back off. So when I go to start, I'm going to actually kind of push it in and keep it bent out as I'm putting it in. When I was doing this underneath my last camper, I was off just a little bit and I thought I could pull it back. There's no pulling it back once you do it. So I'm going to remove the adhesive, and then I'm just going to be very careful as I'm putting this on, and I'm going to use my measurements to move this right outside of the fabric. And my ladder's in a bad position for me to do it the rest of the way. And I got it off. That's one thing about having a ladder, it's not very good comparatively to having more like something different than a ladder. Okay, so I think I recovered that one okay. And literally once this stuff sticks on, it does not come off. I don't have any pockets. Okay. Hopefully I can swap from ladder to ladder on this without creating a ruckus. Alright, so each piece that I put in will take me a little further. You can see actually it looks like I'm dropping down just a little bit on that one, so I got to be careful to make sure I don't do that. and then I'm going to continue on with it. Okay, so I've got the channel in over as far as where I'm going to drop my line down to tap into my power supply. So what I'm going to end up doing is running this little channel down here. But what I have to do is I have to run the lights all the way over, and then I have to run the line, like the wires back. So what I'm going to try to do is do it so that the wires can fit right in top of the channel between this, so I can silicone it in after the fact and come down. So it'll drop down just a touch, but hopefully you won't see it as it's coming through. So what I'm going to do now is start running the line and kind of have it hanging out here so that I can fiddle and try to extrapolate where it's going to end up. So it's because it's not perfectly, I'd really like it to end right here coming straight down. That'd be great, but that's not the way life works. Okay, so what I did is I cut this end a little bit to match up with the line of where my power is going to be, and I cut off a very small piece off the channel. I've also drilled a hole in the top of this that's even with that, and then once I put this in place, I'll put, this has got adhesive backing on it, and it's a channel that actually opens up, which is pretty cool. So you can run your wires down there and then clip it shut. And then I'll put silicone around the top where the hole is, and then silicone around the top so that water does not come through there. But extrapolating out exactly how these wires are going to work, that's going to be a little bit more of a challenge. That will require some additional wires, and I've got to make sure that I've got the connectors too to do that, so it's small enough out of the way. All right, I'm going to start putting the lighting in the channel, and the cool thing about this channel is it really just kind of pops right in there. The channel is just gripping this in here. It's holding it with a grip, and there's sticky stuff behind the channel, and I'm pulling a little too hard on it, so it's coming too far in. Okay. So as you're putting this in, you don't want to pull on it too hard because it still will kind of pull it in the channel. So you just want to make sure you're pushing it in as you go along. And you can use this underneath your camper as well. You just have to make sure that you take a wire brush to the frame of your camper before you use the acetone and put the channel on there, but it works really well. This frame's a little different. I can't do it on this one because the frame is very much in the center of the vehicle, not out to the edge like a fifth wheel or a travel trailer would be. So eventually, when I have a little bit more time in between projects, I'm going to look and see how I can get the lighting underneath the outer edge as well, because that just creates a little additional light that's not in your eyes when you're camping. The thing about this channel is you don't have to wrestle with getting the lights themselves stuck in the right place if the adhesive's on the back of the lights, because it's a little easier to wrestle with the channels than it is with the lights, because they're floppy and they want to stick to stuff, anything they touch. And because there's no adhesive on here, it's just going in the channel, it makes it much easier for you to put it in. But the Recpro lights are more expensive than some of the other ones because of the channel, but I definitely think it's worth it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out where they're going to end and how I'm going to bring it back before I put that channel on. Okay, so to lengthen these out, what I'm doing is I'm putting an additional, this is wire I had, it's a little bit thicker gauge, but I'm using some connectors to crimp on. And then what I'm doing is I'm actually making one wire a little bit shorter than the other before I strip it, so that these will be offset from each other behind there so they don't take up as much space. Because again, I'm going to be attempting to put it in behind the, what you call it, the on top of the track, in between the track and the very top. So it'll be down about, well, about that width right there from the top down. So what I'll do is actually when I go to put the piece in there, I'll have one of these to kind of measure it across with, so that as I'm doing it, I have enough room for this wire to sit in right above it. I'll leave a gap right there where it can come back and come in behind the lighting there, and hopefully it works. If it doesn't, then it'll fly off while I'm going down the road, and that won't be any fun. Okay, so you can see where I've run the wires up above, left a little bit of a gap there. I can have my wire connectors in there. Tell you what, if I was going to go back and do it again, which I should have thought of ahead of time, I would have done the whole thing down a little bit, because now most of the time we don't have the awning out, but you'll see a little bit of a drop in the light. The way it goes across, it'll be a little bit of a drop. So had I thought about that ahead of time, I would have dropped the whole piece that same amount of distance from the top, and that would have saved me in the end, but I wasn't that smart. So now I'm going to hook in my channel to go down. Okay. Now, let's see if I can get these down through. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull these wires out a little bit more, tap into them. Okay, so as I was checking my connections and getting everything working, I decided I wanted to go, I noticed I had some heat shrinking connectors, so I put those on there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the heat gun to heat those up, and as they heat up, they actually will kind of seal around that wire. Even though I'm going to put some silicone in there, I still want to make sure I've got as good a seal on that as possible. So these are, you can pick these up at Walmart or Home Depot. I'm going to close all this up and then get a new bulb, and we'll be good to go. And then I'm going to silicone across the top of this. Okay, so what I did is I went back up over top of the seam that I left open with a clear caulking. It looks like it's white. It actually goes on white and then dries clear. And that should hold that wire in there. And now we have lights. Once again, you know, anytime you can do something on your own, saves money, just helps you to have money for those fun activities that allows you to be free.